Hi and welcome to Crafty Ladybug. Today's tutorial is going to be on the deer. You can use this as a reindeer or a whitetail deer. We're first going to begin with our loom set in an offset position with the arrows pointing towards us. I'm going to begin by making the antlers, then I'm going to progress on to the legs and the ears and some other things that we need to make before we assemble the actual body. I am not sure how many bands we're going to need, but I will be using brown and a beige color for the antlers. So to start off with the antlers, you want to place a double twist band on your loom on the right side, and you want to do this 7 times. One band double twisted all the way down your loom 7 times. Once again, one band, double twist, come down our loom. This is going to form the main beam of our antler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of course, the D goes along with our D theme for our alphabet series. Next, I want to cap this band off 5 times. This is going to be the main beam of our antler. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Many of you should know how to do a cap band by now, so that was a 5-time cap band. I'm going to come back up here to the center, and I'm going to come down 3 times. And this is going to make the short beam of the antler. And we need to cap that band off 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on the left peg, we want to come down with a double twist band 4 times. 3 and 4. If I'm going too fast for you, just hit the pause button to catch up. We're going to cap off that last band once again with a 5-time cap band. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 times around. I'm going to begin by looping the tall antler, the longer of the set of antlers. Oh, did you guys see that? I just broke a rubber band. No fears and no worries. I'm just going to pull off that 5-time cap band. Happens to all of us. And I need to replace that band that I just broke. I'm glad it just happened on this first one. So I'm replacing that double twist. And I need to replace my cap band again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just going to relieve a little bit of tension on that cap band a little bit by placing the end of my hook in there and just running it around a little bit. This brand of band seems to be a little bit more fragile. And I'm just going to loop straight forward. I get my light brown bands from a store called AC Moore. And also my brown bands come from that same store. Sort of a by chance thing. Some days they have them, some days they don't. So here I've pulled off the main beam of the antler, and the bands are a little twisted on there, so I'm just going to give a couple pulls and tugs to kind of straighten those bands out some. And I'm going to take this antler and I'm going to place it on the 4th hook down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to go on the 4th peg down on your main beam, and you want to place that on before you loom up your main beam. So once again, the 4-time antler came down on the 4th peg. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the taller of the 2. And I'm going to loom my shorter of the 2 antlers. And I'm going to take that off using the back of my hook, and hopefully it will not twist as much as the last one. Okay. And this is going to go 2 pegs beyond the other antler. So you'll skip a peg and then place the shorter one. My cap band's a little crazy there, so I just tugged on it a little bit. Now we want to loom our main beam. And you just want to keep looming, straightforward looming. When you get to the little antler portion, you want to be sure to reach down in there and just get the last 2 bands, or which is a single band that's been double twisted, so it acts like 2 bands. And I'm reaching down in again to get that double twist band. I'm just coming straight forward. Okay, now that I've reached my end of the main beam, we're going to do something a little different. I want you to set aside 2 dark brown bands. I want you to reach into the end of your antler with your hook, and that's how I want you to pull it off the loom. Leaving your hook in that end, because the next step is going to be really important. Give a little stretch and tug. We can always straighten this out at the end, but I just want to give a little stretch and tug to make things a little more antler-like at the current moment. We're going to be pulling those 2 double bands through that opening on the antler. And then I just want you to set this aside, because when we go to lay the bands on the hook, this is what we're going to begin to lay with. So here is your antler with 2 bands pulled through it, and we're just going to set that aside for now. We need to do the same thing again, because we have to have a second antler. So we're just going to come down the loom 7 times again. And you guys can fast forward or replay the beginning part, but we do have to do this 2 times because we have 2 antlers on our deer. You could have just a 1 antler deer, but I think that would look a little silly, but they do happen in nature that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. 5-time cap band. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once again, if I'm going too fast for you, just simply hit the pause button to catch up. It's going to be a 3 down band, 2, and I know that this color is really hard to see on the loom. A 5-time cap band on that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there we have our 5-time cap band. And now we need to do our long tine of our antler, which will be a 4, coming down 4 times. 2, 3, and 4, and a 5-time cap band. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-time cap band. What we're going to start off with is the left again. Hope the band doesn't break. And guess what? It did again. Not sure if my hook has gotten too sharp or if these bands are just really weak. So I'm just replacing the cap band and that band that broke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once again, I'm going to reach back into that cap band. We're about to start all over. There we go. And I'm just going to relieve a little bit of tension on that cap band by running my hook inside of it. And there went another one. You guys are seeing me fumble through this one. No wonder I haven't wanted to do the deer before. Okay, to get that double cap band, or that band, I just double twisted, and I'm just going to pull through. And I'm going to loop it together. So that was a simple one. Hopefully you guys won't have that much of a problem when you do it. I'm going to pull this off, and it's going to go on the 4th peg down, 1, 2, 3, 4 on our main beam. Easy way to remember that is the 4 band on the 4th peg. I'm going to do our shorter peg, and let's hope there's no breaking on this one. That one's really tight again, so I'm just going to leave a little bit of tension using another crochet hook. I've got multiple hooks around here. So basic straightforward looping. You guys are used to the single chain by now. I'm going to take my hook in, and we're going to just get that off of there. And there goes the cap band looking all crazy again, which we'll fix that at the end. I'm going to skip a peg and place this on the next peg down. So you've got your longer tine on the 4th peg down, 2, 3, 4. Skip a peg, and then you put your shorter little grouping of the antler. We're just going to straightforward loop the main beam, being careful not to break your bands. I'm sure you guys are going to let me know if you do, which I warned you in advance. Working with the double twist bands, I don't think they were truly designed for the double twisting, especially this brand that I'm using today. They are a little bit more fragile than most other bands that I've used before. Okay, so we're done our main beam. Remember, this time we're going to take our hook end, I'm going to stick it in there. We're going to gently pull off your main beam all the way to the end. Give a little tug, straighten things out some, and I'll fine tune it at the end. You want to take 2 bands, 2 dark brown bands, and we're going to pull that antler through and onto those 2 brown bands. And once again, we're just going to set this aside for a minute. And we are now going to begin to lay our deer out. And for our deer, as I said, we need to start with the legs because there's not enough room to do his front legs and the body together. So we're going to start with the legs. And for the legs, I'm doing 3 bands. And you want to come down just in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times with 3 bands. You want to be sure to use 3 bands because you want your legs to be a little bit thicker and stiffer, and depending upon what type of band you use, you may need to support it with 2 picks or a piece of wire. 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to come down 5 times. Then you want to take a single black band. We're going to cap this off 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So it's a 3-time twist cap band. Okay, we're going to be making the other leg, and we're going to be using 3 bands again. And we're just going to come down the loom 5 times. And that's 3 bands again. 3 bands. Fumbling with my bands today. 3 bands again. And 3 bands again. Then 1 black band, twisted 3 times on that as a cap band. 1, 2, 3. Now we can begin to loom. And you just want to straightforward grab your 3 bands, hold your cap band down, and this is just a simple straightforward looming. And once you reach the end of the loom, you want to tuck in a toothpick, pull that leg off so you don't lose the loops. And we're just going to be setting this aside, and we'll apply it later. I'm going to come over to the other leg, hold on to your cap band, and just straightforward loom. Be sure to grab all 3 bands every time. Grab your toothpick, and we're just going to pull our leg off and set it aside. Just give a little tug and stretch. These bands have are really stretchy, have a lot of elasticity. I can't ever say that word, guys, but they have a lot of elasticity to them. So I don't know what the end product's going to be like, because this is the first time that I've ever used this brown with them. So our next project is going to be to take 2 bands. We're going to start to form the head. First thing I want you to do is to take 2 bands. Actually, we're going to take 1 band, and we're going to dangle it off the center. Just take a single brown band and dangle it off the center. We're going to take 2 bands and go from the center down 1 peg. Now comes the tricky part. We need to add our antlers. You want to grab your antlers, and you want to grab a hold of the little bunny ear type of things that you put on your bands, and you want the main beam of your antler to be pointing away from your body and the points to be pointing down. We're going to take this band and we're going to stretch it across the second left peg to the center peg. And that's how we're going to apply the antler area. We're going to do the same thing for the other side. Be sure that the beam is facing away from you. I just need to straighten this up just a little bit. And to straighten out your bands, you just take your hook and pull and tug on them a little bit just to straighten them out and untwist them. So our main beam is going to be facing away from our body, and the points will be facing down towards your table. Stretch out your little bunny ear type of bands and slide it over the center peg to the second bottom peg on the right side. So you want your antlers to be pointing away from you and facing down, which is completely opposite of what the deer looks like when it's done, and that's okay. Our next step is also a little confusing. We're going to be making the ears, and then I'm going to be pulling up this one piece and sliding the ear on, and I'm going to do the same on the right side. So for the ears, you take a single band and wrap 4 times around your hook. 2, 3, 4. So you want it wrapped around your hook 4 times. Take a single white and a single brown, and you want to pull those 2 bands through that 4-time loop you just did. And you just want to fold it over onto your hook, and that's going to form our ear. Now for the tricky part of the ear, I want you to reach into your right loop, grab it and lift it slightly off, and I just want you to slide your ear down onto that set of bands, and then place the bands back on your loom. So we have our antlers and our ears joined together on that band. Now let's do it again for the left side. 1 band, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-time twist on my hook, 1 brown, 1 white, pulled through, and I'm having difficulties getting that over there. There we go. one brown, one white pulled through, and just slide that over your hook. Just fold it right over onto your hook. I'm trying to keep the white inside, or the inside of the ear. And then we're going to reach into our band on our left side, and we're just going to slide that ear onto that antler area, right next to the antler. And you just want to let them kind of hang out down there, and we'll get to those again as we begin to loom the piece together at the very end. So I've got the antler pieces on, and I have the center portion on. Now it's going to be pretty much straightforward looming, much like PG Loomis's basic action figure tutorial. If you guys have seen that, it'll look very familiar to you. This is basically his action figure tutorial with a lot of modifications. So I want to take 2 bands, place on the center peg, 2 bands on the right, 2 bands on the left. I'm going to be sure to push those bands down. 2 bands in the center. Now I'm going to do his cheek area, which will be from the center to the right, from the center to the left. And if I'm going too fast for you, just hit the pause button to catch up. For the neck area, we're going to be switching to white bands, and you'll need 3 white bands. This gives it more stability, so we want 3 white bands in the neck area. And then I want just a little bit more white on the chest area of the deer, so I'm going to take 2 white bands. I'm sorry, don't do those 2 white bands yet. We need to take 2 brown bands from the center to the left, 2 brown bands from the center to the right. Then we want our 2 white bands in the center. So it was 2 brown bands from the center to the left, 2 brown bands from the center to the right, and 2 white bands in the very center. We want 2 bands again on the left, 2 bands on the left, 2 bands on the left, 2 bands on the left again. And we want this done 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So it's 2 bands, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Now we're going to switch to 3 bands again. This is making our legs. So we've got 3 bands, 3 bands, 3 bands, and 3 bands. I'm going to finish off his leg with a cap band, 1 black, wrap 3 times around there. 1, 2, and 3. So that was 2 bands, 2 bands, 2 bands, 2 bands, 3 bands, 3 bands, 3 bands, 3 bands, 1 black band capped 3 times. And we need to do the same thing on the right side, which will be 2 bands, 2 bands, 2 bands, 2 bands. Now we're going to switch to 3 bands. So 3, 3, if I can get them on there, 3, 3, and 1 black band wrapped 3 times around. 1, 2, 3. So that was 2, 2, 2, 2. And we switched to 3, 3, 3, 3, a single black band capped 3 times. Now let's go ahead and we're going to finish in the center section. Work on his body and his tail area, which will be 2 brown bands, 2 brown bands, 2 brown bands, 2 brown bands, and I want to make a whitetail deer, so I'm going to switch to 2 white bands. And for the end of his tail, I want to take a single band and cap that off 4 times. This will be a 4-time cap band. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we had in the center 2 white, 2 brown, 2 brown, 2 brown, 2 brown, 2 white, and a cap band brown 3 times around. I'm sorry, cap band brown 4 times around. The black bands were 3 times over here. Now we can begin to lay our horizontal bands. And for our horizontal bands, we're going to be taking a single brown band, double twisting it, and it is going to get placed above the white tail band, because the tail is going to fold over and it's going to be sticking out a little bit. So I don't want the horizontal band mixed in with that. So you want to lay your first horizontal band, the peg directly above that set of white bands. So that was a double twist. We have another double twist going directly above that. Triangular area. Another double twist coming directly above that. And the next one is going to be a single. 1 single, no double twist. And that's just going to give a little bit of more broadness through this area, the shoulder area. Now I want to add my legs. And let's add our legs right here, much like you do your basic action figure. And our leg right there. So here we have our crazy looking deer. I need to worry about the face area and the horizontal bands for that. And then when we're looming the face, we're going to do the muzzle part. So that's going to be a confusing area, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But for this first face piece, we need to take a single band, double twist, place that on there. And then if you're doing eyes, you need to thread 2 beads onto a single black band. I'm sorry, single brown band. I have 2 black eyes on a single brown band. And that is going to just come straight across there on those horizontal bands, and you want to stretch your eyes out just a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see that. Try to get a close-up of that for you. And if you need assistance in stringing your bands, let's do that really quickly. I don't think about it because I do it so frequently, but you'll want to take 2 beads and a piece of dental floss or string. Here I have a little piece of string, thread, and you want to take your thread and loop through one part of your rubber band. So it looks kind of like this. Then on your thread end or your dental floss end, you just want to run it through the end of your beads. So just run that through the end of your bead. Bead number 1's now threaded on, and bead number 2 is now threaded on. And then you just give your rubber band a little tug and slide your beads down onto it, Release your dental floss or your thread. And here we have our eyes onto our band. Okay, now that I've already gotten it laid on the loom though, we're going to progress on to the looping portion of this project. Before we begin to loop though, I am going to go back to the muzzle area. And as I said, it's going to be confusing when we get to the looping part, but let's get this muzzle made and on our deer. You want to take your hook and you're going to wrap a black band around 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to take 2 bands and we're going to pull through that black nose band. This is going to become our nose. So you've just simply slid your black band onto those 2 browns, and you want to fold it back over on your hook, much like you did your ear. And now this is going to be the next confusing step. We need 3 black band or 3 brown bands, and you're going to pull that through those 2 bands and slide that back onto your hook. So this is kind of what you've created. A 4 twist, 2 brown bands pulled through, and then 3 brown bands pulled through that. You know how we had that cap band down here? You want to lift it up, pull through, and then you want to slide that cap band, that horizontal band, back down onto your loom. So I'm going to show the close-up of this right now. This was your cap band, your horizontal cap band that was double twist. And I just slid that muzzle piece on there. And now the muzzle piece is kind of straddling that center peg right there. See if I can get closer. Hopefully that's okay for you guys. I know it might be a little blurry. And then when we get to looping, it's going to be confusing, and I'll go very slow when I get up to this point. But that's our muzzle and our nose area. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let the hunting games begin. Let's hope we don't break any bands. So starting off at the leg, you want to hold onto your cap band. And this is just basic, straightforward looping. Remember, you've got 3 bands down there, and you guys see that just slid off on me. That's okay if it slides off. I'm just going to put it back down. Just slide that back down. And it's really hard to loop and film, I think, at the same time. So my hands are in the way. I'm so sorry. Reach beyond that cap band, little horizontal cappy band. You don't ever want to pick up your horizontal. Guys, did you hear that? That was my hook flying halfway across my desk. Okay, reach down into that cap band, beyond that horizontal cappy band, and just straightforward loom up to your shoulder area. And when you get to the shoulder area, you want to loom the diagonal across. So you want to pull your leg back a little bit, get down to that 2 shoulder bands. You just want to bring them across to the center. Then we want to do our left side or right side. It's going to be the same thing. Just straightforward loom straight up to his shoulder area. And be careful, remember the leg portion has 3 bands. So you want to be sure that you're getting all 3 bands through that leg area. I've reached my body cap bands. You don't want to loop those in. So I'm just looping straight forward to my shoulder area. And now that I've gotten my shoulder area, I'm just going to tug on that a little bit. And I like to pick it up and look down in there to make sure I'm getting the right bottom 2 bands. And that's going to come off to the center. And now we're going to do the tail area. Once again, there's a cap band there. You want to push that back and hold on to it while you loop your tail forward and just loop straight up the center of your body. Now when we pull this off the loom, I want to warn you guys now, as I'm just looping straight forward. When we pull this off the loom, it is not going to look like this. You have to fiddle with this. In order to make the antlers stay up, in order to make his leg go right, you have to watch this video all the way to the end in order to get him to stand. If not, he's not going to stand. And you guys are going to holler at me, but I told you that you had to fiddle with him at the end. So, back to our looming. I've reached our white chest area. My little rant, sorry about that, but watch the end of the video so you know how to make him stand. Now we're reaching into this neck area, that really thick neck area, and we want to grab our bottom 3. There's 3 white bands there, and you want it to come straight forward. Now you guys will see that the little nose just got in the way a little bit there. I want you to take your nose, and I just want you to lift it on top of that center band. Just straddle it across that center band there, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Reach into your white neck area, and you want to grab the top 2 bands, which is our cheek, and it's going off to the left. We have 2 more cheek going off to the right, and we will have 2 more. No, we do not, because I grabbed too many of something. So I'm going to put my cheeks back down. On the first one I grabbed 3 bands. It's very easy to do. So be very careful. I'm just rearranging the bands. And now they've slid off a little bit. So I'm just rearranging the bands so I can get to them better. And slide my 3 neck pieces back on, which actually is 6 bands now there. Okay. Let's start again. You want your top 2 bands, and they are going to go off to your left. I am having a terrible time holding on to my hook today. So that was our top 2 bands coming off to our left. Reach in again, 2 more bands, and that's going to go off to the right. Now we want to reach in and grab the center 2 bands, and we're going to pull them straight forward onto that forward loop where we had our nose. We've got our nose piled up here. Now I want you to take your nose with your fingers and just fold that back down over that set that you just got done looming. Hold your nose down a little bit, and I want you to reach in and get those next center 2 bands. And that's going to come forward to the head between the eyes. And we want to complete our left side, and this time we're going to go all the way up. So basically what I did was I lifted my nose out of the way, made the loop there, and then I pulled my nose back down. And now it's going to be in its right spot there. And we can continue to loom the rest of our piece together. We've just gotten to the antler portion, which you want your antler and your ear to stay on the bottom. You don't want them to come up through on the top half of that loop. I'm not sure if you can see that, but you want your ears to stay behind and the antlers to stay behind. On the right side, we're going to come straight forward. I'm reaching in to grab my antler portion. I'm only getting 1 band that time. So this is the antler and the ear, and it's just coming straight forward to its diagonal. You want the antler and the ear to stay underneath. You don't want them on top. And now finally, the last band here on the face. Center band coming straight forward, and here we have our completely loomed deer. Double check and make sure that you did not miss that confusing loop underneath the nose. So we lifted the nose out of the way, we did the loop, we pulled the nose back down. Now I'm ready to finish off the deer. I have my dangle band that I started with. How long ago was that? It seems like forever in this video. I'm reaching into that center peg and I got my bottom of the dangle band. I'm going to slide it over and I'm just going to slip knot it off. Now I'm ready to pull it off the loom, I think. And remember, I told you there'd be fiddling at the end. Be sure to use your hook or a skewer to pull this stuff off. You don't want to just rip it off. When you go to rip it off, you do two things. You damage the bands and you distort your item by just ripping it right off. And remember, I told you, my little rant earlier, that you would have to fiddle and play with this guy. You reach the body area, you're going to be okay to gently tug. But you don't want to just rip right off the loom. I like to do it slow because all the bands have different tensions on them, and that's my cat band for my tail. I always do the cat bands with my hook, just because of the tension issue. So here we have our deer as soon as you pull it off the loom. There's our deer as soon as we pull it off the loom. It looks nothing like this deer until you fiddle with it. Our first fiddling portion that we're going to do is by taking the little dangle band, and you want to pull it towards the back and push his eyes out a little bit. Just simply take your thumb and push his head out a little bit. The next thing we want to do is move the antlers closer and pull the ears out. We move the antlers closer to the center just by tugging on that band a little bit. There's our dangle band again. Our dangle band, if you don't want to use it as a charm, you can actually tuck it into the back of the deer. Now for the antlers, take a crochet hook or a skewer and slide it into the base of the antlers. And you're going to push backwards with your hook slightly. And that is going to drop your antlers towards the front. So reach into those antlers and push backwards. Pinch forward, push backwards. For our neck area, you want to reach into those white bands, slide your hook in, and you want to push your head back and pull the band towards you. Pull those three bands towards you. And let them kind of just roll a little bit. With the second white one, you want to do the same thing, just a little tug. And here we have our deer kind of looking like a splat. For the legs, we're going to turn his body sideways. And you want to take the upper portion of the leg, pull down on the leg and the body, and pull up on the bands. And that's going to make his legs come down. See that? Reach into the upper portion of the leg, grab the leg, pull it down, the body down, and the bands upward. Now let's do the other side. Upper portion, upper leg, pull down on the leg, up on the bands. Back portion, slide through, down on the leg, up on the bands. Our little tail is dangling down. We just simply pull him up a little bit. And here we have our white-tailed buck deer. If you're still unhappy with your antlers, just simply give them a little tug and pull them down. Another little tug and pull them down. And with more fiddling, you can get your antlers in the exact spot that you want. If you want them to curve in, you just simply take your crochet hook, the end of your hook or a skewer, and run it through a couple spots. And similar concept as the legs, just tuck and pull, and you will get your deer in the shape and everything that you want. He does take quite a bit of fiddling, I reminded you of that earlier in the video. So just play with them, get them to your likings, hide that dangle band, get your eyes popping out there, and we've got our little deer. Because of this type of band that I'm using, I don't think he's going to stand up by himself. It was just a cheaper type of brown band that I found. Actually, he will stand, but I need to play with him just a little bit more to get his antlers where I want them to be. But there you have our buck deer. Hope you enjoy.